Lesson. I've been taking piano lessons for 6 years. I want to do something new. Please, Dad, I really want to take drum lessons like Clay. Samantha made her argument carefully, walking around her father in circles like some kind of mad cow. Her hair, which was almost crow black, was pulled into two long braids on either side of her head. She wore black jeans and a bright green long sleeved t shirt that had tiny white flowers on it. While she loved clothes and shoes, she was not so much into other girly things that some of her friends were starting to like, such as makeup and cheerleading. Sam felt a strong pull toward music and rhythm, almost like there was a compass inside her that was steadily pointing to a piano and now drums. Both Sam and her older brother Clay, who was 15, had taken piano lessons since the age of 5. Clay had now been taking drum lessons for 4 years. The racket, as their father called it, of his drumming in the basement would flow through the house and beat notes in Sam's chest. As she watched Clay's skills advance, she realized it was something she wanted to do as well. One more person drumming in this house is not acceptable to me. I'm sorry, Sam, her father was saying, rotating where he stood to follow her as she circled around him. I work all day long at a construction site, surrounded by jackhammers and machines. I don't want more noise at home. Sam stopped abruptly and peered into her father's stern expression. His dark eyes were shadowy, but they seemed to soften a little when she peered up at him. It's not fair, she said. Life isn't fair. But we have drums already. I've been saving money and could take lessons at the store in town. You don't have to do anything. I'll practice when you're not here. Sam had started circling again. Her father turned and put his hands on her shoulders. Sam shrugged him off and moved toward the back door. Mom would let me. She would want me to pursue my dreams. You're mean. Your mother cares more about her newest boyfriend than you and Clay. You don't. At least she loves someone, Sam shouted without thinking, then turned and fled out of the house. She ran as fast as she could down the street toward Highland Park. It was a half a mile, and she ran the entire way until she came to the line of oak trees and pines where the park began. Her heart was thumping in her chest as if someone was chasing her, but she turned around and saw that her father, of course, had not followed her. Taking a deep breath, she began to walk slowly into the park. She found a trail near the pool, which was closed for the winter, and she followed it deeper into the woods. The trees were mostly bare now. Some had a few bright yellow leaves still hanging on like misplaced mittens. Her heart felt normal again after a while, and she trudged up and down the dried-out dirt path, occasionally passing other people, families with dogs, couples, and solitary runners. Most people smiled. Sam smiled back, even though she didn't feel like it. When she could no longer see the pool, she realized she had taken a trail that she had never been on before. At this realization, her heart fluttered a few beats. She stopped and looked around. I can always just go back the way I came, she thought. Feeling hungry and thirsty, she found a large rock a little way off the path and sat there eating a granola bar she happened to have in her bag. She could hear the stream off to her left and thought of taking a drink from it when a raindrop appeared on her hand, and then another and another on her jeans. She looked up and wondered how she hadn't noticed that the sky had turned a murky, dark gray. Maybe it was the rain or not knowing her way, but teardrops began falling down Sam's cheeks. Why had she come into the woods anyway? She couldn't remember clearly now. She just wanted to take drum lessons. Her father was unfair and rude. She would never talk to him again, she decided, and began walking back along the path. A low rumble of thunder groaned in the distance, and the raindrops became fatter and faster. She couldn't see very far ahead, and her own tears fell faster now too. She tried running, but quickly tripped and fell, skinning her palms. As she pushed back onto her knees, she heard a rustling in the brush ahead, and then a large black and brown fur ball bounded out of the shrubs and headed towards her. Her mouth dropped, and she let out a squeal. George! Her dog ran to her and licked her cheeks happily. She fell back onto the ground again, laughing, and saw her brother turn the path towards her. Clay! Hey, we were worried about you, her brother said, running over to her. He grabbed her arms and lifted her up. Didn't you hear about the storm? We need to get back. What happened with Dad? Sam told her brother about the fight as they walked home in the thunderstorm. George, fortunately, was not afraid of thunder, probably because he'd heard drums in the house since he was a puppy. He walked protectively by Sam's side the entire way home. She petted him every so often and stopped to hug him a few times too. Normally, she would have taken him with her to the park, but she had left in such a stew. Just don't bring Mom into it. We all miss her. Clay pushed his chin-length brown hair behind his ear. I smiled at her. He smiled at her. I'll give you secret lessons if you promise not to tell. I want real lessons, she said, rolling her eyes at him. He laughed. Their father was standing at the door waiting for them. He came down the walk and hugged Sam. Please don't run off like that, Sam. I'm sorry, he said. You're really serious about this drum thing? Yeah, pretty serious, Sam said. All right, let's go inside and talk, her father said. As they walked through the front door, Sam smiled to herself, thinking of the first beat she might learn on the drums.